we'll now start with the moon as the planet, where like how
Yes.
we discussed in sun, where we took celebrity examples through
Yes.
different houses.
Yes.
So similarly for moon, we will continue where we will take different celebrity examples and see what the impact of the moon is on different houses.
Yes, yes. So moon, basically we have done a moon video. What exactly is moon and all that.
We
So
can link that in the
yes,
description
we'll
below.
link that in the description. So basically, just to touch upon, moon represents your mind. Moon represents your emotions. So moon represents your mother. It represents water. It represents milk. So all these trees, vegetables, fruits, this
Coconut tree.
coconut tree, and sort of water bodies, your emotions, all those are represented by moon. So fragrance, flowers. So the entire nature is represented by sort of moon kind of a thing. So moon also stays in the sign for a day, right? So it completes the entire cycle across the zodiac in about 27 days. It is believed that it is directly proportional to the reproductive system of a lady kind of a thing. So it is believed that when the moon transits the Mars for that particular person, the new reproductive cycle starts. So
Okay.
the 28th day starts from
Right.
there kind of a thing. So Mars represents sort of anger, blood, and those kind
Right.
of things. So that is when the new reproductive cycle starts. So it basically, talks about our mind kind of a thing. So we'll now move into different houses. So moon in the first house, talks about, first house talks about our personality, talks about our mind, our clarity of thought process kind of a thing, and then round body and those kind of things. So just to take an example, our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji has moon in the first house, and a strong Chandramangala yoga in Scorpio kind of a thing, and then Anuradha Nakshatra
Right.
base. So the extremely the clear and clarity in thought in terms of moon.
Okay.
So in terms of the same moon is a sort of exalted our own house in Navamsha and Dashamsha. So in
Right.
terms of clarity of mind, in terms of thinking process and all that, it's a fantastic kind of a moon from that perspective.
From a first house
Yes.
perspective.
So from a second house perspective, we have second house represents wealth, assets, voice, and all that. So we have Lata Mangeshkar, who has
Right.
moon in the second house. So
Okay.
we don't need to talk about her voice,
Voice.
right?
Right.
So that clarity of voice, that smoothness in voice, that twinkle in voice comes from the second house
Okay.
kind of a flavor.
So moon also gets exalted in the second house,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
any digbala because of moon in the
No,
second house?
Digbala is primarily moon is in the fourth house.
Okay.
So fourth house of
In
mother.
its own house.
Yes.
Right.
So fourth house of mother and fourth house of Cancer. So own house kind of a thing. In second house, it sort of gets exalted.
Right.
So it talks about clarity of mind. It talks about speech. It
Okay.
talks about communication and music and those kind of things. So moon in the third house. Now third house again talks about short travels, communication, and those kind of things. So we just to take a celebrity example, Rajesh Khanna is a perfect example of moon in the third
Third
house.
house. Okay.
So if you see his dialogues in movies, it clearly Babu Mosha, that musical flavor is very strong. That moon's flavor.
Okay.
And that warmthness in that talk is very strong from a perspective. So that kind of a flavor comes out with moon in the third house kind of a thing. So Rajesh Khanna also has a very strong Parivartana Yoga, 1/7 Parivartana Yoga. So you see his name change and those,
Right.
it's strongly linked. So you have name changes clearly linked to parivartana happening between the identity and the partner kind of a
Got
thing.
it.
So you have A.R. Rahman, Dilip Kumar, and those kind of
Right.
people have those kind
Name
of name
changes.
changes. Yeah. So moon in the fourth house of land, fourth house of your own country kind of a
Motherland.
thing, motherland, your
Right.
home, and those kind of things. So a perfect example is Hitler. So Hitler has a strong Gajakesari yoga in the fourth house.
Okay.
And the fourth house fame, the Gajakesari denotes fame, and the fourth house is also sort of linked with Ketu and Rahu Ketu axis. So a lot of influence with Ketu and also Mars.
Okay.
And that is why this violence and the
Right.
fame related to violence and
In the wrong
in the
direction.
wrong direction kind of
Right.
a thing. So moon in the fifth house. Moon in the fifth house is fifth house of passion, right?
Right.
Fifth house of your desire and interest, and so Dr. Abdul Kalam is a fantastic
Example.
example for this moon in the fifth house. His passion for aerospace, his passion for space-related kind of a thing is clearly coming out from that perspective. Compassion is a very, very strong, flavor that comes out with moon in the fifth house. So compassion for people. Abdul Kalam, we don't need to talk about
Right.
his compassion for kids
Right.
and people and those kind of things. So that is a very strong flavor which comes out with moon in the fifth house. Moon in the sixth house. Again, celebrity that we can talk about is Shahrukh Khan, where moon is in Shravana,
Okay.
and sixth house, Shahrukh Khan lost his mother. Sixth house of sort of diseases, deaths, and those kind of struggles in life and
Okay.
those kind of things. He lost his mother when he was 24, kind of thing. So that flavor, moon in the sixth house, is reasonably. So moon also talks about fertility. Moon
Right.
talks about taking care. So if you would have
The
noticed
motherly
people
feeling.
motherly feeling, and
Right.
that some people host a lot of guests, right?
Right.
So that you can be reasonably sure that the lady in the house has a very strong moon, or the
Okay.
man in the house a very very
Strong
strong
moon.
moon, kind of a thing. So from that perspective, moon in the seventh house
Mm.
talks about Prince Williams, right?
Right.
Kate, if you notice, her role from a celebrity perspective is to
To
be
host
to be
people.
accompanying
Right.
Prince
Prince William.
Williams, from a fertility kind of a perspective,
Right.
from a general kind of a perspective. That is the flavor which comes out with moon in the seventh house.
Seventh house.
You will take care of your partner as
Mm.
if he or she were your sort of kid, and those kind of
Right.
that kind of a flavor
The
comes out.
motherly feeling comes
Motherly
in.
feeling comes out very positively with moon in the seventh house, kind of thing. Moon in the eighth house talks about emotions and relations to sudden changes, kind of a thing.
Okay.
So eighth house changes.
Right.
Eighth house also related to death, and sudden change in emotions. And so just to talk about some personalities, your Apple CEO, his
Steve
perfect
Jobs.
Steve Jobs has a perfect moon in the eighth house,
Okay.
where sudden changes in
Career.
career,
Okay.
ups and downs in careers, and
Right.
sudden emotional
Burst.
outbursts and those kind of things, movement into spirituality. It's a perfect example for moon in the eighth
Okay.
house. We also have another celebrity, who had a sudden demise, kind of a thing, Puneet Rajkumar,
Right.
moon in the eighth house, Bharani Nakshatra. So emotions post death is probably the largest in the world. We have
Right.
not seen this kind of. It's probably a Guinness record in terms of number of people,
Visiting.
visiting his
Right.
grave, kind of a thing. So that
Right.
that kind of a flavor is very strong from moon in the eighth house.
So moon gets debilitated in the eighth house. So
Yes.
any significance there?
Yes, so moon automatically your 3, 6, 8, and 12 houses.
Mm.
Moon is supposed to be not so
Good.
kind of great,
Okay.
but the celebrities that we talked about, like Sri Narendra Modi ji or Abul Kalam, and all have 8th house, Anuradha Nakshatra. The
Ah,
moon is in
okay.
8th house, but it gets sort of
Exalted in the
Nichabanga
Navamsha.
in either
Navamsha.
Navamsha or Dashamsha. So it's a very strong kind of a flavor from that perspective.
Okay.
And since we also talk about moon representing fertility, and your 8th house and 6th house all talk about your energy, which is related to opposite to fertility, right?
Mm.
So you would notice these celebrities,
Right.
from a fertility perspective, there is a completely
Reversal.
negation which is
Right.
happening because of this 8th house, 6th
Moon.
house kind of
Okay.
a moon, kind of a thing. So now moon in the ninth house, beautiful example is Amitabh Bachchan.
Mm.
Ninth house denotes father.
Right.
Moon denotes poetry.
Ah,
His father was a poet,
poet.
Harivansh
Right.
Rai Bachchan. It's a fantastic example. Moon, ninth house also denotes dharmic. Ninth house also denotes something related to philosophy, your temples, places of worship. So you would notice a lot of songs related to
Right.
Hanuman and
Yes.
things sung by Amitabh Bachchan.
Mm.
His connection towards dharmic activities are
Very high.
reasonably strong from that perspective. Moon in the 10th house, it is 10th house is the house of career, 10th house is the house of status and those kind of things. So Bill Gates is a perfect example for moon in the 10th house. You have second lord in the 10th house for Bill Gates with a
Right.
strong Chandramangala yoga in the 410 axis.
Mm.
So that denotes the money which comes out of career,
Right.
and that also denotes the his presence in his company is almost sort of a moon-like kind of a thing, a
Okay.
very
Caring
indifferent, caring, those kind
Okay.
of a flavor comes out very strong from that
perspective.
perspective. Moon in the 11th house again denotes, something related to, healing, media, that kind of a flavor kind of a thing. So you have a good example like Oprah Winfrey, where she has a strong Chandramangala yoga in the 11th
11th
house,
house.
wherein, fifth axis is media again, right?
Right.
So you have strong, money and power coming out of this 11th house kind of a
Axis.
flavor, and 11th house of networking. So you are compassionate towards your networking activities, and you're inviting, guests and then talking
Right.
to them, and that flavor comes out reasonably very strong from that perspective. And finally, moon in the 12th house. 12th house denotes giving up. 12th house also denotes, loss of interest in activity. 12th house also denotes complete losses kind of a thing, loss of identity. So you have a perfect example like Rajiv Gandhi, wherein there was no interest in politics.
Right.
So absolutely no, interest from that perspective. Movement abroad. 12th house also denotes abroad, so he wanted to go abroad and pursue some other activity kind of a thing. But unfortunately or fortunately, things turned out in a different
Right.
kind of a fashion. So from that perspective, this sort of example series with celebrities should give you
Give you,
some idea about,
depending on where your moon is
yes, where
placed.
your moon is placed. But it's a sort of an indicator.
Right.
The entire planets needs to be taken into
Correct.
consideration for a thorough review kind of a thing.
Consultation.